Hi guys, welcome back to another week of e-commerce marketing chats with myself, Charles, and Jimmy. Jimmy, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, good buddy. Good to be back. So it's been an interesting week on the econ front, and so yeah, I'm keen to discuss it. I think what's kind of even off one of my calls today, I think what's on top of a lot of people's minds that especially sell internationally, especially into America, is the tariffs at the moment, and it's yeah, it's interesting to see the marketing shift. So like today, one of the conversations was the tariffs are making this unviable for us. We want to explore other countries. So a lot of the campaigns that I'm running that are going into the US are basically the budget's coming out of the US and they're exploring Canada, the UK, New Zealand, Australia, even yeah, some of them like Saudi Arabia, like that. Those are Dubai regions, Singapore. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to explore like other global markets rather than just going to that linchpin of the US, which I think some e-commerce stores are making that pivot now. So yeah, it's interesting because I think at the moment, kind of if you're a drop shipper into the US paying those tariffs, like it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. So I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of people that have done things for a certain way for a long period of time that it's going to work nowhere near effectively as what it once did. So yeah, that's kind of definitely one of the things that we'll chat about tonight that has come across my plate. But yeah, and also I think the other thing that's kind of popped up for me this week is like store owners looking to cut costs in places, and I think we'll chat about that and just making sure that people are cutting the budgets or cutting costs in the right places. And I think we can talk about our own expenses and where we would cut, but also looking at our clients' accounts and where they should cut as well.
Yeah, that's really good points. I think, the tariffs is definitely a big one. And I think it's something that, although, we don't chat too much about logistics on this
Yeah.
channel, I think the reality is it impacts the businesses that we do work with, and the businesses that we're speaking to. So
Yeah,
China is a
like
very big market.
it's changing marketing strategies. So even
Yeah.
though it's definitely on the logistics side, it's like affecting the logistics so much that the it's shifting where the marketing budgets are going. So it's kind of luring us into that space. But you're right. Like I don't want to talk about the logistics of it because one, it's definitely not my strength. And I even said to my one of my clients today, people ask me why I don't have my own e-commerce store. This is the exact reason I hate the logistics side. I want to stick to the marketing side.
Yeah. I haven't run my own store either, so yeah, it's not my certainly not my forte. But like you said, it's certainly an important subject right now. What are you hearing then, based on the conversations that you're having? Like, how are they navigating these pretty significant changes, especially if they've been
What?
bringing in products from China and then shipping them into the US?
Yeah,
What's the
it's not even China direct to the US. Like it's tariffs just in general. Like they're shipping from
Okay?
Australia and the costs are going to be like astronomical. I don't know the ins and outs, so I don't want to get too like on this topic, but they did mention something about their customers potentially having to pay like $150 to pick up a package. I don't know what that was in regarding, but they just said it's not if this goes through. And this is the other thing. Like there's a lot of ifs and buts at the moment because it sounds like not a lot of things are concrete in the space at the moment, and people are kind of lacking clarity. But the message basically was this is due to kind of be decided on May 1st. And if it does come in, then we're cutting marketing to the US completely. They'll still have the site and then it'll be organic and people will know what they're getting into, but they don't want to be paying for customers to find out what they're getting into just to bounce, basically, which makes sense, which is why we've looked at a country shift straight away. So we've got, 5 or 6 different countries that we're going to start testing this week. And luckily, this kind of, if you are looking to shift away from the US, if these kind of tariffs are going to impact you heavily, the first thing you should do, and the first thing that I did, is go into your Google Analytics, have a look at the location demographic, and have a look at what other countries you're already generating sales for that you're not advertising in, especially if you do already kind of ship internationally. Because this particular client, we're focusing on Australia and the US, but they do ship internationally. So the first thing I did is, with actual data, had a look at, how many people are coming to their site from different countries and whether they're converting or not. And from that, we picked out like 5 or 6 other countries that are purchasing from them already with, enough revenue to justify running paid ads there. And they're the countries that we're going to start testing with for the advertising in different locations.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's and those type of countries, I assume they're you know predominantly larger economies in the West, UK,
Yeah, I
Canada.
think I think so off the top of my head it was New Zealand, Canada, the UK, United Emirates, which was an interesting one
Yeah,
that popped up for me, and Singapore. So they were the five that was on there. Philippines was on there in terms of traffic numbers, but in terms of conversion numbers, like I kind of ruled it out unless they wanted to go there. There were a few sales in Philippines, but the conversion rate was so low. I was like, I kind of want to stay away from this market based on just the initial data. It's something that we could explore in a second round of testing for secondary countries. I think the countries that were on the secondary round of testing, potentially, that we're not doing in this initial batch, but the secondary countries were Japan and kind of the Scandinavian countries, like Sweden, Norway, Austria, like that kind of region. So they were secondary. We're not testing those countries on the first batch, but there was sales in those regions, definitely. But yeah, United Emirates was an interesting one that popped up. It's not something that I would have thought of off the top of my head. But again, this is why everyone should be making decisions that are data based, not just going with the gut, especially if you've been running for years and you do already ship internationally from whatever site you serve from. Go in and have a look at the data and like make some decisions on how you should pivot based on like the data that you already have. I think it's one of the biggest blind points of e-commerce businesses. They've got all the data they need to make the right decisions. A lot of the time, they just don't know where to look, or they don't know that they've actually got all this data to help in the decision-making process. So, if you are looking to pivot or you are, thinking about this, then if you have someone that's an agency or a freelancer that you're working with, ask them to help you make these decisions or not make the decision, but hey, I'm looking at this. Can you provide some data that would, help us make this decision based on what's on the account? So really leverage the people that you are working with if you are. And if not, do what I just said and go into your Google Analytics and have a look at the demographic, and it will break it down country by country. And country by country, you'll be able to see how much revenue you've done from all those countries and how many users have come to your site from that country over whatever period of time that you want to look at in the Google Analytics. So that's where I would start off as the absolute first point, just to kind of get an indication of what other countries actually might be exploring. For the majority of my clients, they're Australian based and they typically only ship within Australia. So the tariffs haven't affected too many of my clients. I do have a couple that are international and do advertise in the US, so it is affecting them more heavily.
Mm. Yeah, makes sense. Like I said, the UAE is an interesting one. That doesn't surprise me too much, knowing how much that region has grown over the last 5 years. I know there's a lot of people leaving from the UK, a lot of rich people leaving from the UK over to Dubai and places like that, Saudi Arabia. So that region is certainly growing, and there's a lot of more Westerners moving over there. And Singapore is another one that's right on my doorstep, which, yeah, again, there's plenty of wealth there as well. So not a bad market to look at for sure.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be a little bit of a shift if you like there's logistically there's options and 3PL options within the United States. So you've got options to explore, but I think the ones that are just shipping from an outside country into the US that don't want to explore those, I feel like they will be testing other markets, definitely. And yeah, honestly, it's interesting. It's interesting to me. There's a big shift. I think without getting too far into politics, I think, a lot of people cry out for change and, them wanting the world to be operating in a different way. And then, when change starts happening, like a lot of people don't like it. So it's a, it's a, it's a lose-lose kind of whatever side of the fence that you're on. But yeah, there obviously is a lot of things changing at the moment, which can spell a lot of opportunity. But it also means that if you were operating in a certain way and now that isn't viable, then, unfortunately, you might have to pivot and have a look at another way of doing business or operating in new markets. So yeah, it's an interesting time in e-commerce, especially if you have a high reliance on the US and you're not operating from within the US.
Yeah, I think adaptability is probably the key word if you're running an e-commerce store right now. Not just with the tariffs, but also, how much AI is impacting and influencing how people search for products, just in general, how you're able to market. So I think it's easy to go into fear mode, but I think you've got to look at the opportunities and the positive side of these things and how potentially there could, be some good things out of it. That would be,
I think I
my
think
my
that's a
advice
I
on
think
that.
it's a yeah, I think it's a good point too. And I think if you are a service provider listening to this and you do have clients that serve heavily into the US, like just be mindful of that because a couple of the clients that I've spoken to this week that do serve into the US, they're stressed and they've had a few sleepless nights and things are changing. So, at a human to human level too, you've just got to be aware of that and yeah, help them and guide them through the process as well as you can. But yeah, it can be stressful when something like that significantly affects business that you've been running for a long period of time, like significantly kind of impacts cash flow. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes up. But yeah, you're right. A lot's changing, Charles, and on the AI side as well. I know we've discussed AI a lot, and honestly, I think we'll continue to discuss it a lot too because it's heavily, heavily impacting the e-commerce space. And I mean, I probably put about, I think, if I had to map who I've spoken to this week in terms of friends, family, everything else, I think ChatGPT would win by over like 50 hours. So I've logged
I'm the
some
same.
serious time. I've logged some serious time on ChatGPT just this week, basically because a project that kind of I've revamped the website needed to be redone. Like the code was like 7 years old and it wasn't working, and it was this marketplace, and I've always needed a developer to do it. I was like, you know what? All I've heard about is how AI can help you code, so I'm going to give it a shot. Mind you, so I didn't use it anywhere near efficiently as what you could have. I was using a program called Cursor, and I was cut and pasting prompts from ChatGPT over to Cursor to build this thing. Um, and just when you finish building the site, you're like, great, and then you try to upload it to the hosting, and there's all these other issues. Um, So yeah, like it definitely can be done, but there is a learning curve to it. I know Charles uses a program called Bolt.new, which is probably less of a learning curve. It's probably more user friendly and out of the box to create things. But I've gone down the cursor app track, and I probably will stay there just because my mentor that's kind of helping me in this AI space for especially data analysis and those type of things. That's what he uses, and he's been able to produce some kind of amazing softwares and insights from data off this. So I was like, okay, it's proven to me. I've seen it work. I'm just going to follow this route. But yeah, with all the AI that's out there, you've got so many options. But I will say a lot of people kind of come into the AI space and they're like, oh, it's just going to know everything that I want like straight away, and it's just going to be there. Like there's a learning curve to it, definitely, and I logged some serious hours just trying to probably I asked ChatGPT like how long have I spent on this since we started based on our active chat, and I think it said about 46 hours. So yeah, I logged about 46 hours this week at night just doing it. I think I had a few late nights, but I got there and I'm really happy with the outcome. It took longer than I expected to get there based on all the hype that you hear about, how easy everything is. If you're doing it yourself for the first time, expect it to be a learning curve, but you've got someone there that knows all the answers constantly. You just need to know how to ask the right questions. So yeah, I think that's an important kind of caveat, kind of going into doing anything on AI when your expectations are that, oh, this is gonna be great, it's gonna know everything, it's gonna just do everything for me. It's not quite that simple, and there is a little bit of finessing and a little bit of a learning curve to using the AI to build something from scratch.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I was trying to use it the other week to effectively optimize some of the on-page SEO for my clients in bulk, and like feeding it CSVs files, and like there was some, I spent like an hour and a half trying to go through it, and it was still like not giving me exact, like wasn't filling out all the fields, and I ended up giving up in the end, and I've gone back and to kind of feed it more information. But yeah, you're right. It's especially when you don't have prior knowledge of that skill set. So say for example, you're not a coder or a designer by trade, and then you're trying to use it to create a website. It's going to take you longer because you're not able to always ask the right questions because you're effectively learning yourself while you're training the AI.
Yeah, I think I think that's a really good point too. And one of the things I kind of used to combat that was in the prompts, whenever it changed code or something, I was like, explain to me why you're changing it and what impact it's having. And then it kind of tells me why it's doing things. And when I'm reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's why you do that. Oh, this is what that's called. So
That's good.
you're almost learning as you go. And I think the more and more you do it, it's just like learning how to use something for the first time. You're learning all this new terminology, and how everything works. I mean, I put in enough hours over the last week just to be like, okay, like I can use this really efficiently now really efficiently, I should say, for the method I was doing. But there's much more efficient methods, and I'm hoping to get up to speed on. So something that took me 46 hours the first time around, I could probably do in 10 the next time around. So yeah, it's cool. Unlike I sent you through the website last night, Charles, and yeah, I'm really stoked with how it all came together. So it took a while, but yeah, and I'm not sure if you checked like the inspect, Charles, but I put all SEO elements in there and
Nice,
in the
nice.
metas, and yeah, it's because you can ask ChatGPT, okay, I built this now. Hey, I want to integrate SEO into every page, and it's like you should do this for on page, this for technical, this for everything else. I'm like, far out. This isn't like it's really insane, like how much knowledge it has. It's just people need to ask the right questions. So, and then yeah, it's honestly it's the best teacher I've ever had, like flat out, because there's not too many teachers you can go to and just the thing is, when you've got real life teachers, you feel bad just constantly asking, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? With AI, that's what you're doing constantly, and you're just learning, and there's no hesitation to asking the questions that you want the answers to and asking them literally one after the other
Yeah.
constantly.
I think the great thing, I mean, I was saying to you before we got on camera that I've been kind of down the AI rabbit hole myself just this weekend, and specifically ChatGPT, because before then, probably for the last couple of months, I was focused very much on Claude AI. I felt Claude was very good for creating copy. But I kind of switched back to ChatGPT after kind of watching a few videos on it, and I've been, really impressed by what you can do and how far it's come since I initially used it. Just like little things like basically now updates the memory in real time. So regardless if you're starting a new chat, it effectively is building a profile on your previous chats, and it's learning more about you as you go on, so you don't have to constantly feed it the same questions. If you're starting a new chat or a different project, it will remember what you've trained it previously. So it's just, now I was experimenting a little bit with what they call GPTs, so you can create like effectively like custom apps within their GPT store, and yeah, feed it like SOPs and templates, and it's going to pull through data based on what you've been training it to do. So like I built like I'm working on one at the moment, like an SEO meta title and description like writer for e-commerce stores that have got a lot of SKUs. So that's something that I'm building at the moment. And you could effectively launch these. You could either keep them private and use them for internal use, or you could launch them on the App Store. And I do think, or the store, not the App Store, but the stores. I do think that there is plans in the works that you're going to be able to effectively earn. Like it's going to be like you're going to have paid GPTs, and people, it's going to be a whole new economy where people are going to be able to earn based on the GPTs that they create, which is exciting. And the SEO on that is very simple at the moment. It's like keyword, like it's all alphabetical. So if you typed in, Shopify, it's going to show up all the Shopify, like Shopify SEO optimizer. So it's very straightforward, alphabetical ranking. So that's, if you're going to create these GPTs and you want to get exposure, then you want to just basically have a very keyword rich title and description.
I thought you were gonna say just make sure it starts with A.
Well, that's the point. But it depends what you're typing. If you start typing, basically the first word you type in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I built a few over the weekend. Some for personal use, some that maybe I'll launch, and a few that I'm probably going to give out to our Shopify marketing secrets group as well for those that are in the group. Yeah, highly recommend, Jimmy, if you haven't checked those out, because I definitely think there's
I
some.
actually use a few like GPT agents from other people, but I've never explored the marketplace, so I haven't done that yet. I'm using the course I'm taking on AI at the moment. Every time he goes through one of the classes, he uploads like the transcript and everything to the GPT agent. So anyone that has any questions, they don't have to contact him. They can just ask the GPT, and he trains that up, which I thought was really cool. I'm using another one for email marketing. There's another one. I don't know. It's in my thing, but I'm not sure if I've used it. It's called Sora. It must be like one of the image generations or
Yeah,
something. I might have
Sora's
been.
the main image
Yeah,
generator. Yeah.
that's in there. And I think I had one other one in there as well. So I played around with a lot of the agents, and they are actually really good because it's really specific to something and it's basically trained up already. So you can ask it more general questions without having to be super like detailed and specific in the prompts, because it already basically knows what you're trying to do, because you've got an AI agent that's trained up for that particular skill. So yeah, I haven't explored the marketplace, but I am using a few of the custom GPTs, and I really like them. I think they're great. So, and the best thing about them is when you listen to, like, if someone's uploading their course notes and things like that as you're going through it, there's always some point in the video where you're like, oh, what did he say about that? I can't remember. And then you're scrolling through YouTube trying to find the point where they talked about a particular thing. Like, you don't have to do that anymore because the transcript's already uploaded. So you can just ask the GPT the question. You don't have to be searching for that tiny piece of information that you were looking for on the video. Like, it's already stored in the GPTs. So that part of it's time saving and it's great, and it can answer other questions that you have around the topic too. So I think it's definitely going to change the way that course creators do things. I think they'll do things the way that they have been doing it, but as a resource, they'll have an additional like GPT agent.
Yeah. The scary part. So I asked it the other day, like, who am I? Tell me about myself. And it listed all like, and I was like, oh shit. Like the amount of stuff it knows on me, it's crazy. And you can actually update the memory as well. So you can feed it information about yourself. There's a setting, I think it's under the profile, your profile image. You can click on that and change the memory and tell sorry, I can't even speak, GPT
GPT.
tongue twister. Can tell it about you, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So
I
now it
didn't.
refers to me as my first name. So it goes, yes, Charles. This is
I didn't realize there was a word limit on chat. So when I was doing that website, I hit it and I looked up how much it was, and it was like 25,000 words. So in one chat, like I'd hit like 25,000 words worth of questions. just shows how many hours I logged. I basically wrote a book while I was building
Yeah.
this thing, but that's a lot of code copying over too. So it wasn't all like free writing, but yeah, the AI space is I mean it's amazing, and I put it this way, I never could have built that website that I built over the weekend without AI, and I signed a contract for someone to use the traffic that was coming from that website. The website had a blog and a subdomain, but the core website wasn't working. And part of the contract, I said I'd fix the main website. So there was a bit of incentive for me to kind of spend that amount of time fixing it because it was in the contract and I was getting paid basically to fix my own site and generate traffic to another company. But yeah, just like if AI didn't exist, like that retainer that I'm now getting for that site wouldn't exist either. So yeah, it's AI is opening up revenue opportunities in unique places as well. But just through my own experience on the weekend, it's in the back of my mind, like a lot of projects that I never got off the ground because I needed a developer to like help develop these ideas. My mind is like, hey, like I could give these a good shot now. Like, sure, it's gonna take a lot of work. Like, I know it's gonna take a lot of work based on my own experience. I'm building a small site. Some of these projects are a little bit bigger. But it's something that I would be willing to invest like an hour or two in a night and like over the course of 6 months, see what I could produce. So, and like it's not fully ecom, but it would be like a SaaS product, which is but I've also thought about trialing some Shopify apps, for some of my clients, so like some really small ones. And honestly, the first one that I want to try build is like the simplest thing I could think of. Like when someone abandons a tab, I want the where the favicon icon sits. I want that to like flash, say, "Hey, come back to the site," because I have seen a few of those apps. I'm like, surely this isn't that difficult. Yeah, and they charge like there's a couple of free ones, but the other ones charge like $1 a month. I'm like, yeah, I want to start like I should go into the Shopify library and find all the apps that are like $1 a month and just try to replicate it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's so many opportunities. I'm building out a new business at the moment focused on like more info product space, and I'm not really a writer. I'm I'm dyslexic, so it takes me for one, if I'm sitting down and writing, the quality of, it takes me a long time to sit there and write a full ebook, go through, build out all the bonuses. Now, I did it within a over a weekend, and I've got all the deliverables ready. I'm now actually just waiting on the guy to design the ebook, when actually I probably could have used AI to do that as well. So that's a kind of classic case of, he said to me, yes, I can get it delivered, but it'll take 8 days. And I'm like, now with AI, I'm so used to instant. I'm like, oh, okay, but yeah, it just shows what's possible. You're able to bring businesses to market a lot faster. So on one front,
Definitely.
you've got for those that are quick to use these tools and execute, it's going to be incredible. There will become a point where, the markets will become more saturated because things will just get copied more. And really, I think the differentiator is going to be the the experience and knowledge behind what you're putting in to these things. Like anyone
Yeah.
could create a GPT or whatever, but if it doesn't come from proven results and experience and knowledge over a long time, then no one's really going to get much benefit from it. So that's going to be the differentiator. It's the quality of the result you get from whatever output you're putting out into the market.
I think like especially in the software space, it definitely levels the playing field. I mean, I was watching a YouTube video the other day of someone that like duplicated Duolingo, which is like a multi-billion-dollar company, and they basically created an app. Like, don't get me wrong, the app was nowhere near as advanced as Duolingo, but it was basically a similar concept. It looked very similar, and the guy had spent half an hour on it. Imagine if someone spent 6 months on that. You're able to like build a software that's pretty similar to a company that's worth multiple billions. So, but you're right. I think branding and marketing is only going to become more important because you need to differentiate yourself from everything that's already out there. I think your brand story and the founder's stories is going to only become more important in the future. And yeah, I think if you're living in the software space and you're not well known, I think yeah, you're about to see a whole lot more competition.
Yeah, yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. I must admit, I've tried it on creating branded documents and logos, and I've not been overly impressed so far. So I do think there's space there. And maybe it's just because I'm not coming from a creative background. Again, I'm not asking it the right
I was
types of
just about to
questions.
say that. The only reason I say that is because Carl, who we had as a guest on the show a couple of weeks ago, who's in the video animation space, he's also one of the best graphic designers that I know. He sent me through some things that he worked on the other day, and they were insane. But it's exactly what Charles just said. He's got so much knowledge in the space that, he's able to ask the right questions and tell it exactly what he needs. Where Charles and I is basically like, yeah, we can draw, and then you see a couple of stick figures pop up type things.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I think that's what it is. I think, AI, I don't do, they keep saying that, AI is not going to replace humans. Humans with AI will replace humans, non-skilled humans.
Yeah, as much as it's gonna, I think it will replace a lot of human jobs. Definitely, I think people that have been wanting to start a business that have been held back by the technical limitations, I think there's going to be some massive businesses come out of this AI space. Not necessarily AI businesses, but businesses that the founders didn't know how to get off the ground, but now they can. I think a lot more of those businesses are about to come to market, and I think a lot of them will hire a lot of people. So I think it's just that shift again, and I always go back to this story because people are like, oh, it's never, history's never seen this. And I remember reading an article a long time ago, but it was around kind of the farming era where 80% or something of jobs were in like farming, and then the tractor came along and like wiped out the majority of the workforce. I mean, it's not something that humans haven't dealt with in history before. It's just changing, and there'll always be different jobs, but different areas will become more important. And yeah, it's just the way that it's going. But yeah, AI, and Charles and I are both really into it. So if you want to chat about it more, come into Shopify Marketing Secrets and let us know what you're doing in the AI space, especially if it's e-commerce related. We're both keen to know. But the other thing, Charles, that I'm keen to talk about is businesses trying to reduce expenses. I think, and I'll say this first, and then I'll say why you need to investigate further. So, the number one place that businesses should look to reduce costs is the apps that they're running on Shopify. One, because they install them years, sometimes multiple years ago. They're not actually using them, and they're getting charged monthly for them. What I would say when you're looking at those is, for example, a couple of my clients are using like a push notification app, and they're not using it, but it's bringing them in significant revenue. It's just sitting there in the background driving revenue. So they removed the app, and then I had a chat to them today. I was like, "Oh, why'd you remove that? It was bringing in like a couple $1,000s a month." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And then we installed it again, and luckily, when you install it, you keep all your subscribers, and all the stats are just still there from previously. And then they could actually say, yeah, sure, they're paying, $60 US a month for this app. But then you look at the revenue and, it's brought in over the last 2 months, like I think it was $9,500. So they're like, oh. So when you're reducing costs, make sure you're not reducing the costs on things that are actually bringing you in significant revenue. So I think that's kind of an important thing to consider when you are reducing costs. It's the same for marketing. Like if you're reducing the budget, sure you can kind of cut some inefficient spend from your marketing and just narrow in on that stuff that's working. I would say the inefficient spend a lot of the time is the testing area though. So you kind of losing that knowledge of what you can continue to put into the main part of the campaign. Um, And then the main part of the campaign will need more testing at some point. So it's like, okay, how long can you ride this wave of what's actually working? But I mean, just take it for this, for example. If you're running a campaign and it's got a 10 return on ad spend, and you decide to reduce the budget by $5,000, there's potentially like $50,000 worth of revenue that's also going to disappear with that as well. So reducing costs efficiently, reducing costs where it's going to have the least amount of impact on your revenue is probably where I would be looking to reduce your costs. I think unused apps is a good place to start. It's a small thing, but also outside of Shopify, like your subscriptions that you're not using too. I know so many businesses that are paying for even like marketing services that they signed up for like years ago and they think that they're using it, but they're not. And then it's like, oh, why are you paying for this? It's like, oh, it runs this, and this. I'm like, no, it's not running that, and that. This is doing that. And they're like, oh, why am I paying for this then? I was like, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think, especially those that are worried about the tariffs and stuff and need to reduce costs for cash flow reasons, if the US is a massive market for them. Yeah, I mean, the obvious ones too are like staff and around those. I think I don't like to get involved in those conversations because I don't have a huge amount of experience with managing teams, but obviously your team is a huge expense. But again, like it's the same thing with marketing. Like you're losing spend, you're losing revenue. If you're losing staff, you're also losing, internal productivity. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider, but yeah, I just don't want people to reduce costs on things that are bringing in significant revenue. And if you're not sure, do an analysis on it or ask someone that knows about whatever you're about to remove before you remove it.
Yeah, good points. Really good points. I can definitely, yeah, I think the paying for apps and never using them is definitely a big one that I've come across with some of my clients as well. I'm like, you do know you're still paying for this, and oh yeah, we need to do something about that. We need to actually use it. And also, I guess probably like you said, the obvious one is staff, marketing agencies, but like doing it in a way where you're making sure that you're analyzing, are they getting results? Because again, there'll be some stores that will spend money each month with an agency, and if you ask them, are they having an impact on the business, they kind of might look at you blankly. So I think, like I said, it's going through and analyzing each channel, each department to make sure that they're having a positive impact on the business.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people in people's everyday lives as well. I mean, I'm very big on cutting costs. Like I watch our expenses a lot. I know where everything is, and we only ever have one like Netflix or Stan or whatever Disney Plus or whatever people are using at the moment. In our household, we only ever have one active like TV show series, like one active subscription. I'll never be running all three at once or all four at once or however many that you have. And yeah, it also goes for like in the marketing business, like you pay for a lot of softwares and things like that. For data
Yeah.
analysis, I pay for reporting software. Like there's a whole bunch of softwares and stuff that we all pay for, but just be mindful of doing an analysis on whether you're actually using it or not. And then I was speaking to one of my mentors the other day, and because we were talking about subscriptions, and he's like, I've signed up for so much, I don't even know like what half these subscriptions are anymore. So you don't want to get into that place because yeah. But in terms of saving money, when you're talking about marketing agency, Charles, you definitely need to audit your marketing agencies 100%. Especially some of them are taking their customers for an absolute ride, a rort. The prices that they pay are absolutely insane. So yeah, review that and then yeah, find out like or talk to some good freelancers and find out kind of what they're charging and what their results are like. Talk to some other agencies, find out about their pricing models. Don't get me wrong, you don't want to make the decision purely off price alone, but it is definitely a factor. So, yeah, analyze every expense in your business and then, yeah, look to look to run as lean and efficiently as you can if you're in the e-commerce space, especially.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best kind of habits that I've picked up over the years is like every month at the end of the month or beginning of the month, I'll look back and, do like what was my revenue and break down, go through my bank statements, like where did I spend the money and just put it on a Google sheet and figure out like where am I spending money? Is there any waste? Because I'll look at some months and I'll go, blimey, I've just signed up for this, and this, and I'm not using these two. I can get rid of those. And I do the same for my personal life as well, like ingoings, outgoings. I have a clear picture of my assets and liabilities. I can tell you, not that I would ever disclose it, but I can tell you what my net worth is. Like these are things that sound, you know, I would say probably 99.9% of people don't even know. If you ask them, do you know how much money you got left over at the end of the month? Do how much, what's your net worth? They probably wouldn't be able to tell you. And it sounds, yes, it takes a few hours a month, but once you're actually got set up and you have that data, it can be really powerful. And the larger the business, and then from a family perspective, if you've got kids as well, these you need to know where your money's going.
The larger businesses bleed money. It's crazy.
Yeah,
One of my best mates from high school, like for a 30-second TV commercials, like $250,000. Like I'm just like, what?
it is.
I'm just like,
Taking them for
yeah,
a ride.
we got this award-winning agency to do this. I'm like, oh my fuck, like that. But the thing is, these larger businesses, they've got a marketing budget and it's there to spend. So
Yeah,
they'll be like, yeah, what can we spend it on? So people that think businesses are tightening up, like maybe some, but there's a whole, green river out there of money looking to be spent on marketing and services and whatnot. But I will say this too. I saw an interesting post the other day. This is from a property buyer's agent, and he's quite a polarizing figure, but I really enjoy his content. But he said, we don't have a cost of living crisis. We've got a spending crisis, which I kind of agreed with. And then I was reading some of the comments on the post, and because he was talking, he kind of laid out his weekly expenses of how he was going to buy his first home on $75,000 a year, and you know, I think he had in there like $40 a month for his phone or whatever. And then I was like, oh, I even thought that was a bit high. And then I'm reading the comments. I'm like, oh, I need my phone and service and the data, and my phone's 160 a month. I'm like, $50 a month for your phone. I'm like, is that even a thing? And then I looked it up. Like I went and researched it, and it's like the top iPhone on the top data plan was like $160 a month, and I was like, that is mind blowing to me. Like $160 a month on your phone. I just for just to put it in perspective for me. So the credit card that I use gets me bonus points, and I use that bonus points on my phone SIM card, which is my phone SIM card is $120 for the whole year. And so basically I get it for free off points. So when I'm looking at how much people are paying for their phone, and I don't have any phone expense for the whole year. It's just like far out. Like some people, spending close to 2-3 grand a year on their phone, and like I'm at zero. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's insane, and like things like that. Like people are looking to save, a couple of thousand a year. Like you could do it on your phone alone if you just. I don't believe that in this day and age someone needs a 500 gigabyte data plan with the Wi-Fi that's out there and everything else. I'm like, there's no way that you need that, and if you do need it, you should be buying like a portable internet device, not using the data on your phones.
I
Yeah,
think
it
that,
was mind.
yeah,
I was mind blowing to me, like what people are actually spending their money on, and because the weekly kind of report that he had on like how much he was spending on everything seemed quite reasonable to me. And then in the comments, it's like I could never survive on that for like groceries was reasonable too. I think he was spending like $300 a week on groceries. I'm like, yeah, well, that seems reasonable. And they're like, I could never feed my family on $300 a week on groceries. I'm like, what is everyone buying? Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was it
you're
was a bit
right.
it was a bit eye opening to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I think people end up spending money on things that really they can't afford. I mean, we've always been in that kind of. I think the UK is probably similar to Australia. It's all like it was always been like let's try. It's always try to keep up with the Joneses. You know that kind of
Yes,
constantly bigger and better and more. And the reality is now that certainly when if you're in a job, salaries are have stagnated, and there is there's no doubt that the cost of things have gone up. So you just have to be a bit more mindful what you're spending your money on. But when I hear things like, you know, I've heard something like in the US, like how can't remember what percentage, but a certain percentage of people making over six figures a year US dollars are living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm like, wow, like I can't kind of comprehend that. They're either living in, the most expensive state there is, maybe they're living in California or New York, but to live paycheck to paycheck and you're making, and I know obviously there's taxes involved and, you can get absolutely killed with taxes in a lot of, some of these states, but still, to say that most people have, like, I think they've said that 70% of people in the US haven't got $1,000 in their bank
I
account.
was just
Like,
about to
that's
say that.
wild.
I couldn't remember the percentage, but I
I
remember
think it
hearing
was
that
something like
too.
that. And yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say 50, but I wouldn't. I think it was higher than that. I was going to be conservative, but yeah, I think it was around that 70 mark. We'd have to look it up, but I was just thinking that exact same thing. That's mind-blowing to me as well.
yeah, crazy time. But yeah, I think, like you said, I guess bringing it all back to ecom, it's making sure that you're tracking, you're tracking where your money's going, your expenses, not just in the business, but personally as well. If you need to cut
I
back
think
on stuff, then
I think as an e-commerce store owner as well, you kind of need to be mindful that people may potentially be looking to do the same across everything, like potentially looking to save in uncertain times. So it's more important than ever to have a website that converts really well, good kind of upsell to increase average order value. You need a good email marketing flow. You need your good marketing in general. You need to set up all the basics and you need to do it really well. Not necessary, like it's definitely going to increase revenue, but in changing times, maybe don't look to like cut marketing budgets or like cut staff. Look where you can actually improve what you've got going on. Like look at your data, have a look at your conversion rate, how many visitors you've got to the site, and set a challenge for the team. Like how can we increase all of these by X percentage? And I guarantee if you can find uh, if you can do some good analysis on like the website and conversion rate optimization, they call it CRO. If you can take that from say 3% to 5%, you will see a significant increase in revenue if you're doing a large amounts of revenue. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy to go from 3 to 5%. We had a supplement company that was sitting at about 3.5%. I guided them through a kind of a website redevelopment, and now that's sitting at between 5.5% to 6%. So it's been significant in terms of helping them, scale more efficiently. Now we're looking to fix up the email marketing because I think in terms of marketing, I think like this isn't even biased because I'm a Google Ads specialist, but email marketing I think is the most important component of an established e-commerce store. I don't think it's the most important aspect when like you're just starting out from scratch. I think you need other avenues to drive initial traffic. But once you're getting that traffic consistently, the most important part of the e-commerce equation is the email marketing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'd also include push notifications in that now. Seeing what I've seen over the last couple of months with one of my clients, I think those two are a great way to extract more sales and revenue from your existing traffic without even spending any more
Like,
money on paid ads or SEO.
yeah,
Yeah,
SMS fits into that category too. I think that SMS is heavily underutilized just because of the cost of it. But I think more and more businesses will move towards SMS more this year and next year, especially as like what you said, they're looking to increase their revenue for and repeat customers. Like if you've got the customer already, and especially like in the supplement space, like it's all about repeat customers because once they run out of whatever they've just bought, they're potentially going to want more.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we've covered a lot tonight. I think where do we start? Like yeah, we started from the tariffs, then had a good summary on kind of what we're both doing in AI and where that's going, and then we looked at kind of reducing expenses in your business and your life too, basically. And then yeah, just winding it back to ecom specifically and focusing on the main KPIs of your business and asking yourself and your team, hey, how can we grow each of these significantly rather than reducing expenses on, staff or marketing? Like shift it around and look for that growth mindset. Like, hey, we don't want to cut staff or marketing. How do we grow each of these KPIs significantly and go from there? That's probably what I do to start off. But yeah, I think more businesses need to do it. I don't think enough businesses know what their profit margin, like their actual profit margin is while they're running. So just being across the numbers, especially at this time, is going to be super important.
Nicely wrapped up, Jimmy. Yes, I think that's a great summary to this week's episode. Guys, if you haven't already, feel free to check us out over on Facebook, Shopify Marketing Secrets. And yeah, feel free to hit, if you haven't done so already, if you have been watching these episodes, please subscribe to our channel because I think we're still relatively small. I think that might be an understatement. But yeah, give us a subscribe, give us a like on this video. If you have got to the end of this video, that would be amazing. And it just kind of helps us get a bit more visibility in the algorithm. But yeah, I guess until next time,
See you guys. Take care. Have a good week.
all the best. Cool.
Yes.